right. We have to talk, my friends, about a new movie that's on Netflix, and it's called Uglies. Now, is this a good movie? No, it is not a good movie. But it is an interesting movie for reasons that I will detail. And it might be worth seeing because it might just be, well, it's either accidentally based or actually actually subversive of the the heterodoxy, subversive of the subversive orthodoxy of today. Um, I will explain in a minute. There are things in it that are quote unquote problematic in a good way, and when people use the word problematic, I usually think that they're talking about something that's actually good, because the kind of people who say that things are problematic, they tend to be people who think that what's bad is actually good and what's good is actually bad. So if they call something problematic, then I think, well, it's probably non-problematic. It probably makes a whole lot of sense. So this movie, Uglies, it's kind of a throwback to the teen dystopia genre. It's based on a book. I think it's a whole trilogy. I know that it's a whole trilogy. I've seen it in bookstores many times. I've seen the cover. Might even looked at the back of the book, but never read it. Um, but it's a throwback to, say, 10 or 12 years ago, when you had the Hunger Games movies coming out, and then you had, to a much lesser extent, the Allegiant series, which I think they never actually finished. It kind of started strong, or strong-ish, and then it kind of got weaker and weaker. And then there was like the Maze Runner uh, um, movies as well, that started out as books. So these were all these YA dystopia books that they made into movies, and the heyday of all this was like between uh, 2012 and like 2015, 2016, something like that. But we haven't really seen a movie like this in a while. I don't know if the last Allegiant movie was maybe a little bit later than that, but but so uh, it's a YA dystopia. It's set in the near future, and here's the situation in this particular dystopia. I'll describe it as succinctly as possible. I really don't want to get too bogged down. But uh, what they have told children is that when they turn 16, they get to have this procedure done, which makes them pretty. And once they're pretty, they get along, and because everybody looks good. I don't know. I don't know, because everybody has the way they explain it is because everybody's beautiful. Then there's no more strife. People get along, and all of the world's problems are solved. And this is in the near future, after sort of a post-apocalypse future, where there'd been all these problems. There had been all these wars and environmental catastrophe and what have you. And so so now things are harmonious, but the only thing is that children are apparently just attend this school where they're told all about how the world used to be bad, but now it's good because this new regime has taken over. And once you turn 16, you go through this procedure. that makes you pretty, and they tell you that right now you're ugly, you've got a lot of imperfections. They sort of work on you when you're a vulnerable child, and get you to dislike the way you look now, um, and tell you how beautiful you'll be after you have your procedure done on when you turn 16, and then you get to go live in the pretty city, I guess, or whatever it is. It's like this. Uh, uh, all the pretty people live in this futuristic, seeming utopia. Uh, but there's more going on than meets the eye, of course. First of all, where are all the parents? It seems that the parents have been convinced or coerced to give up their kids to this regime, uh, and so the heroine, of course, these YA dystopias always have uh, a female hero, a girl who's the protagonist. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Um, but in this case, she grows up brainwashed, but still with an adventuresome spirit. Anyway, I'm getting bogged down. So when it gets to when she gets near her 16th birthday, a friend of hers tells her that there's actually some people living in this place called the Smoke. I don't know why it's called the Smoke. That's never really explained. But um, or maybe it's explained in such a subtle way that I was too obtuse to understand it. But the Smoke is like a uh, living in the wilderness, roughing it, kind of living with the elements. Um, uh, and the the book that is passed around surreptitiously, because you're actually not supposed to have books. But the book that's passed around is Walden Pond by Henry David Thoreau. In Walden Pond, Thoreau talks about living, with in the wilderness, in a simple way, um, and but living really in a traditional way, living with your family. The parents are back in the picture again, and uh, it's not this dystopia that separates the children from their parents and forces them to undergo this procedure. Um, so she finds out about this place, and she also finds out that the guy that she'd been friends with and also clearly had romantic feelings for, they clearly liked each other, but they were just friends. But he went and had his procedure just a couple months before she did, before it was time for her to have her procedure. And after his procedure, he changed in a way that she thought he was just blowing her off. She thought that he now was just thought he was too good for her. But actually, what happens when you undergo your procedure is you become a zombie. You become enslaved. Uh, Generally speaking, um, to this ideology. Now, here's where things get really interesting. I think, and what I think makes this movie interesting enough to see. Um, the person uh, who's basically in charge of the pretty city, and who's sort of who seems to run this whole dystopian system, is this person named Dr. Cable. Dr. Cable, as I understand it in the books, she's just a woman. She's just just a woman who's a scientist and really smart, but also really evil. In the movie, they make a very interesting casting choice, because in the movie you've got a tyranny. A tyranny. Why am I using that word? Well, because first, I can't say the word because this is YouTube, and because, well, YouTube's been like, I can't even tell a joke on YouTube without YouTube uh, taking punitive action against me. So I'm just going to say this person is a tyranny, because, uh, well, okay, this is a M2W person. That's who they've cast in the role of who is just a woman. It's just a regular plain woman born as a woman in the book, but in the movie, she, quote unquote, is has a very deep voice, and but basically talks like a drag queen. I mean, it's like RuPaul. It's really it's really kind of laughable. Like I said, this isn't exactly a good movie. Um, it's kind of a little, this aspect is a little campy. Like they've got, imagine RuPaul or some other drag queen, being a tyrant, and um, uh, enforcing this tyrannical rule. That's why I say that this person is a tyranny. you know, take out the first Y in that word, and you know what word I really mean. But anyway, so he, she, it uh, makes these kids get this procedure done, brainwashes them to think that they need to change themselves physically. Isn't that interesting? You got an M2W villain, a person in the role of the villain, who uh, in reality is an M to W, a tyranny, a drag queen, and this tyranny is making children change, undergo this procedure that changes them irrevocably. Well, maybe not irrevocably. We don't know yet if there's a way of undoing it. They're looking for an antidote. The good guys are. But it doesn't just make you pretty. That's what they tell you, is that you become pretty, and that's all. But actually, it makes you also, uh, it also brainwashes you. So when our heroine goes and to meet up with this guy who got the procedure just before her, and he's sort of douchey to her. He sort of acts like, well, I don't really, why would I want to meet with you? You know, and she thinks that he's just being mean, or he just became a snob. But what really happened is his mind was uh, his brain was washed. Um, so yeah, there are so many parallels there. There are so many based or based adjacent parallels. Um, obviously there's the whole child transgender agenda, that this movie seems to be making reference to, or it's harder to ignore that interpretation when you cast the person that you cast in the role of the villain. And again, it's done. This is either accidentally based, or very fruitfully, brilliantly, uh, you know, subversive of the subversive ideology, woke ideology, uh, because he can, the director of the movie can just say, well, I cast this person because I wanted to, this is a trans woman, and I wanted to show that a trans woman can play this role, as good as any other woman. Um, but the effect that it has is that it makes you recall, it makes you think of children being uh, brainwashed into getting procedures done, getting hormone replacement therapy, getting mutilated, even all these awful things that are happening to many children these days, which is such a sobering thought, and it really catches me up short when I think about it. But it also has other interpretations. It could also make you think of another, like a dangerous procedure, um, because such as the one that was foisted upon us in 2021, and we were told we needed to get this procedure done. We needed to get this thing in our arms. We needed to get this junk coursing through our veins if we were good people, if we cared about grandma, you know. So once again, there was this attempted brainwashing, this attempt to force behaviors, as someone has infamously said, um, and so there's also that interpretation, because they talk about how the procedure wasn't safe, and that there were side effects, and people actually sometimes died from it, and so forth. And that was what caused the people in the smoke, as it's called, this Walden Pond esque place, this living in in a manner that the Unabomber would have liked, living with the land, with very primitive technology. Um, but yeah, so I'm sorry. Like, so that's pretty much it. I think I was trying to push the pause button, but it wasn't working. So I think that's pretty much it. Uh, uh, as far as story goes, as far as acting goes, I think the heroine, Joey King is her name. I think she does a great job with some really corny uh, dialogue. And I think the story is, I don't know, it's kind of silly, it's kind of over the top, it's kind of campy. Um, the special effects aren't the greatest. Uh, Obviously, this was a straight to Netflix sort of a production. So anyway, a lot of corny, campy kinds of moments, but in a way, this might be a hidden based gem. So if you have Netflix, I would encourage you to check it out. Check out The Uglies, or just Uglies, and see what you think.